Terry Martin.
Well, when I got here today, I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon. I have been involved with the Hollywood since the day the church moved into it. In fact, before that. And so I have a lot of information that could answer a lot of your questions through the day. And I'd like to start with Councillor Meg's question about the church being willing to buy it. I have been in discussions with the church board and with the pastor of the church and the staff of the church since last December regarding purchasing the building. I told them last December, get off the fence and do it now because it may get too late. About a month and a half ago, they called the owner and expressed an interest to purchase the property. As far as their funding goes, they have a property out at UBC that they can sell, as well as a building at 7th and Collingwood that they can sell and have more than enough money to purchase the Hollywood and do whatever kind of work they want to in there. I know that the call was made.
We're going to enter the assets they have for sale.
Well, they have enough assets to purchase the building.
I know the price goes up the more you talk about how much you got in your back pocket.
It's just part of the facts, and it's public knowledge what their properties are. Anyway, they have expressed an interest to purchase. There is somebody willing to step up. So when you had the impression that nobody was willing to step up, there's at least one group that is. A group that has used that building to the community's benefit in incredible ways. Have put on numerous fundraisers for groups, community groups, for Bayview School, for Lookout Society. And in all these fundraisers, they had predominantly volunteers from the church working the building, being ushers and making popcorn, things like that. It was all volunteer labor, and the church didn't keep one dime from those fundraisers. All the money went to all of the community groups that they were supporting. So they've been an incredible benefit to our community. And while this was happening over the past year, the reason that nobody was worried is because it was working wonderfully. It was an incredible service to our community. It's only a few weeks ago that the church was told they were given their notice and told they have to move at the end of November when anybody became aware that things were going to change. And that's why this is coming at such a late date. The Hollywood Theatre, I'll reiterate, it's this building, I am told, and the 90 days will give your staff the ability to verify what I'm telling you, or dispute it. I'm told the Hollywood Theatre was the longest family-owned run theatre in North America. This is deep heritage. This is something Vancouver shouldn't lose. It isn't the facade of the building. It's the interior. It's the slope of the floor. It's the bunker that's the film room. The walls are at least 8-inch thick concrete with steel sliders in case of fire. It's a bunker. It's built amazingly. This is a piece of heritage we have to keep. It's not the facade. The facade itself is extremely important as well, but it's not just the facade. I'm also told that the neon sign was the first purpose-built neon sign in the city of Vancouver, Vancouver having been the second neon capital of the world. This is an important building. It's deep heritage. That's one reason I implore you to pass this motion. The other reason is the community has benefited so greatly from this building. There has been involvement from the local BIA, from Van City, from Greek Days organization, from Kids House. We've had involvement from Lookout Society. We've had involvement from Bayview School, a fundraiser done for them, a kids play. You've heard most of this already, but I want to reiterate it. You have today the chance not to squash a permit. All we're asking for is 90 days to try and work something out. You've got a chance today to do something good, and when you have a chance to do something good, you should jump at it. So I implore you, pass this motion. The other part of what we're looking for, and I think this is very important, is the city to take a lead role in getting all of the stakeholders at a table. The local BIA, local residents association, the Heritage Foundation, the Heritage Society, the owner, and the city all at one table with the idea in mind, how can we solve this? What kind of a solution can we come up with? That's the only way this is going to happen. What more did I want to say? 90 days, we're not asking for you quashing a permit. We're asking for time. That's all we're asking for. And I hope you pass the motion. I can, like I said, I've been involved in this in the entire process over the past 12 months and more. And so I'm very, very familiar with a lot of what's gone on there and the details of some of your questions.
We have a question from Councillor Carr.
Yes, just two questions. Number one, when you talked about getting the right people together, you did include heritage groups. It's not part of the motion as written, but are there any other players? What was written was the owner, local community representatives, local business community.
Well, the Heritage Foundation has been very involved with the Hollywood, the Heritage Society, Kids House. I think Van City, they've been very supportive. The church, for sure, being a willing participant.
Square.
St. James. And really the city to take a lead role in this. This is something that so many of us are confident we can solve. The city has a lot of tools in its toolbox to be able to do something with this. And tools that aren't going to cost the city an arm and a leg. Tools that the city has at its disposal that it can use. Now you heard Mr. Lehan say he's absolutely opposed to a density transfer. Well, some of the local residents association say it'd be worth it to save that building. That costs the city nothing. You have all kinds of tools. You have other tools. You're aware of most of them, I'm sure. The staff is aware of them. But if we sit at a table with the idea of working out a solution, we can put them all on the table. And the other thing I want to say is that we're not interested in a battle with the landlord. We understand he is an owner and he has rights. We want him to walk away from the table satisfied and happy. We want everybody to win in this, and we think we can accomplish it.
The importance of the city. Do you think that these kinds of meetings can happen without the city?
I think it's crucial the city take a lead role, and I think it's incumbent upon the city to take a lead role when you're dealing with a building of this heritage, of this deep. You know, the city tries to sometimes do something about a heritage building and save it in one way or another, or save the facade. And sometimes the city tries to do something about a performance space and save that. This is both. This is huge. This isn't just one or the other. It's big.
Is 90 days the run amount of town?
At the very minimum. I think 90 days, the very minimum.
Okay, thanks so much. And
Thank
for
you.
all your community work.
Thanks.
We have questions for Councillor Louis.
Thank you, Chair Meggs. Just a quick question in regards to how to fund this. And there's a diversity of opinion from some of the speakers today in terms of heritage density and its transference. And part of, the concept currently is on hold because there's a dearth of it, and it's being increasingly challenging to try to find spots that will accept it. Generally, people don't like to have to accept extra density when the heritage is somewhere else, right? And so maybe just explain to us what your thoughts on are, these spot rezonings that are required in order to handle that density. Because when we generate it, it's a significant amount of density in order to save these heritage. And we found ourselves over the years very challenged despite some of our efforts to save our heritage.
Okay, well, just to answer that, I'll go through some of the numbers. The property was purchased for $2.85 million 2 years ago. The renovation on it is estimated to be about $2 million. It's $4.85 million. If the owner sells the building and doesn't have to do that renovation, he's going to save close to $5 million. If he gets a property density transfer of one floor on the adjoining properties, which this owner has properties all the way up and down Broadway, owns probably half of between McDonald and Alma Street. So it would be very local. In fact, he owns the neighboring two properties to the Hollywood. And that would be the appropriate site. So for the owner to build an extra floor next door save approximately $4 million in construction costs, he would probably realize pretty close to the same kind of profit for a $4 million less investment. So I think if it takes one floor on the neighboring two properties, that's reasonable. I think it's a deal that if you offer an owner, the same profit for far less investment, it's maybe something he will jump at.
Okay.
And I think it's easy to keep it local because this owner does have properties all the way up and down Broadway in that area.
Okay. So you're thinking the adjacent properties can handle additional density?
Yes, and I have spoken to people in the neighborhood regarding this. I know that people in the neighborhood association discussed it, and they were predominantly in favor of it.
Are those other buildings ready for redevelopment?
He has indicated that he owns the copper tank, which is next door, and he owns another property beside that. And he's indicated to the owner of the copper tank, their lease runs out, I think, in a year and a half. And I believe that's when he's looking at developing that property.
Okay. Okay. Good ideas. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. That's all your questions, Mr. Martin. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
We have two more speakers.